Or later it's going to say this hangout on there is live. I'm live. All right, let me hurry up and resume. Something that I've been lacking in is I decided to add to my portfolio of mobile apps. So I'm going to build a sample trading application, stocks. So with that said, the very first step that I do is I create my solution. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me share my screen. Come here. Full screen, start share. From there, I'll present to everybody. All right, come here, come on. And initially, I could get rid of that window right there. I'll create a solution called FN trade. FN is short for function trade, or shall I say functional, because I'm doing this in F#, as you can see by the type of project files that I have here, right? Anyway, so I wrote a quick, this is going to be a series of blog posts, but essentially I wrote a blog post over here called Building a Trading App Using Xamarin.Forms. And I'm actually going to take this video after I complete my little small presentation, and I'm going to embed that video in here so that there's a video commentary in addition to this small little post about actually configuring my Solution Explorer. All right, so what does it mean to configure Solution Explorer? Basically, I like the idea of clean architecture that Robert C. Martin, aka Uncle Bob, talks about. He has a couple blog articles on it as well as YouTube videos on it. And essentially, my interpretation of that is that you partition the application into components in which your Solution Explorer is going to convey the intent of the application. So you don't have like you know, a folder called view models, a folder called repositories, etc. Of course, I do have a folder called domain, right? That's only because I really think it makes sense to partition out the actual domain from the integration, from the testing, etc. So in this case, when we open up domain, the thought process is you see the intent of the application based on its features. So for example, outside of the entities, which is essentially various types, that the application is going to rely on to satisfy whatever requirements that this application needs in order to manage trading. Outside of that specific library, we have our home library, which is basically the features that are associated to when you launch the application, the landing page, and what the user can do. And we also have managed trades, and we have view statements. So these are the different libraries that are here that are based on related sets of functionality, aka features, and we throw that in here. The thought process for this, as I talk about in the blog post that I posted, which is over here, is that you can, this bizmonger.wordpress.com, Scott Nimmer's blog. Anyway, is that you can, when some static analysis tooling is provided for F#, that we can actually, based on this particular architecture, run static analysis on specific libraries so that we can get the IDEs or Visual Studio's interpretation or their view of or opinion of the maintainability of each library. That's based on code metrics, specifically the maintainability index, but also code coverage as well. And this could be useful when we run static analysis on each library in which each library is mapped to a related set of features, because now we have information that we can provide to QA so that QA can make more informed decisions. Or should I just say they can make informed decisions based on really the information about how these libraries are currently built, or should I say the complexity of these libraries, hence managed trades, view statements, etc. So this now takes, testers, manual testers that are testing based on white box of a view, and we're now creating that, or not even white box, I apologize. We're taking manual testers and we're feeding them information that now provides them information where usually they're going from black box testing, where they really don't know anything about the internals or the implementation details of the system under test. And we're kind of creating more of a, instead of a white box, more of a gray, where they understand based on the libraries that are isolating related sets of features, which related set of features have been identified as not as maintainable as other features. And so we could feed them this information, and they can go ahead and do exploratory testing and flesh out even more hard to find anomalies, etc. So that's the intent. So this is that was my domain folder. My integration folder is essentially the the parts that are essential to the application that plug into the domain. So in this case, it's going to be our user interface, hence Xamarin.Forms, portable class library, and the actual Droid project, in addition to services. These services are going to really be web services. However, as of right now, right, we just provide interfaces. For example, get info, try purchase, try sell, right? And so what this is going to do is, the way that this application is architected is, I'm going to be able to run this application in two modes, either in isolation, where it doesn't touch any external systems outside of the UI, which is dependent on Xamarin framework, specifically Xamarin.Forms, Xamarin Android. That's it. That's the only interface, external interface, that this application is going to touch when it's run in isolation mode. Now, I haven't created a class called configuration in which you just toggle the bit, but essentially you can run in isolation or you can run in integration mode. When you run in integration mode, then instead of, let me just talk about it here. When you run in integration mode, you're actually touching the web services, right? So you're actually making web requests to get information. In order for that to work, right, I'm kind of going to the details that haven't yet been implemented. Our test API not only feeds our unit tests, but it's also going to feed our application when our application is in isolation mode, meaning that it doesn't touch a web server. So essentially, when we launch our application, the way that I'm going to build it, the application will actually have a dependency on the test API, in which we are able to run the application using just dumbed down data, right? And the reason why this could be beneficial or advantageous is because this speeds up really the software development construction. It speeds up construction, code construction. and debugging, because we now can quickly identify, based on running on two different modes, isolation mode or integration mode, if an anomaly that has been discovered is really based on business logic or if it's based on integration logic. Business logic is within the actual domain, the implementation of a business rule, right? Integration logic would be like some funky query that wasn't written appropriately or correctly. And as a result, well, we need to figure that out. And so again, this is beneficial because we can use process of elimination. So we could completely eliminate aspect of the system that has nothing to do with the anomaly, right? And so we don't have to try to troubleshoot. We don't have to launch the entire application initially to identify where the anomaly is. We can just write a unit test, and if that unit test still passes, well, we can run an isolation mode and we can launch the application. And if we discover an application is still mapped to an implementation of a business rule, which has nothing to do with the integration, hence a query or a database or web service. So anyway, that's pretty much it. This is partitioned into 3 different segments: domain, integration, and testing. And the testing is beneficial because there's a test API that will actually feed data to the unit test and also feed data to the application based on the mode that the application is run in. Integration covers the integration points such as UI and also web services. And the domain is the actual core. It's the actual policy that the application is built for. And I would say the definition of a policy is a set of rules, right? It's a collection of rules. So anyway, that's it. Let me go back to me, stop presenting, or stop sharing my desktop. Let me go back to me. That's it. So again, you go to bizmonger.wordpress.com. You can see the blog post that I made is very short. I want to keep it simple. And I am embedding this video into it. So there's commentary, and then there's like a couple paragraphs discussing the intent. I want this to be a series. So what I attempted to discuss was the first stage in which I actually configure my Solution Explorer. And then after that, I'm going to be establishing my domain logic. So that's going to be my next blog post, and that's going to also be my next video. That's it. My name is Scott Nimrod. Adios, te veo a ratito. I'm available for hire. I do native application development, whether it's for desktop applications or mobile applications. I also do test automation. And something else I do too. Oh yeah, I've been getting into functional programming. So I'm out. Adios. Peace. Stop broadcast.